It's late at night, you're scrolling, and everyone seems to have the same milestone: keys in their hand, big smile, finally bought. You don't feel inspired, you feel behind. And the price isn't just money, it's this quiet thought: if I don't buy soon, I'll be renting forever. Here's the part nobody tells you: buying doesn't automatically turn rent into equity. Sometimes it just turns rent into five different bills. So people panic buy a home they can barely afford, just to stop feeling judged by an invisible scoreboard. You sign papers, you get the keys, and for a week you feel like you made it. Then the bills start arriving. That's when a beautiful home can become a beautiful cage: fixed costs, locked cash, and a brutally expensive exit. You're standing in a place that looks like success, but it feels like you can't breathe because the mortgage payment isn't the finish line. It's the first link in a chain of payments. In this video, we're doing one thing: a brutal audit. We'll separate what you keep from what you never get back. And once you see the math, you'll stop asking, should I buy? You'll start asking, what is this decision really costing me? Step one: list the unrecoverable costs, the money that feels productive but builds zero freedom. Step two: calculate one number that cuts through the noise: your price to rent ratio. Step three: measure the cage bars you don't see: how hard it is to leave when life changes. If you treat your home like an investment without checking expenses, you're doing what bad businesses do: bragging about revenue while ignoring costs. So, today we're going to do what the industry hates: turn the dream into a spreadsheet. And if the math says renting wins for your situation, that's not failure. That's strategy. Because the goal isn't to own a deed, the goal is to own your options. Let's start with the first trap: the costs that disappear every month, even when your home price goes up. If you've ever felt house rich, cash poor, this is the moment it starts to make sense. And the scariest part: none of these bills care how motivated you were when you bought the place. In the next minutes, we'll put numbers on the cage, and you'll know whether you're buying freedom or buying stress. Grab a pen later. You're going to copy the same checklist and run it on your own numbers. Because once you can measure housing, you stop arguing with opinions and start making decisions. Let's do the first calculation: the money you pay that will never come back. Start with the number everyone memorizes: the monthly payment. It feels like the whole story until you break it open. Home ownership has unrecoverable costs: money you pay that builds zero equity and zero flexibility. Imagine your payment as five envelopes on your kitchen table. Only one of them might become yours. Envelope one is interest. You're not paying yourself, you're renting money from the bank. In the early years, most of your payment can go to interest. That's not wealth building, it's vapor. This is why people feel, I've paid for years and I still barely own anything. The schedule is designed that way. Here's the brutal translation: if only Y goes to principal, the rest is the cost of capital. People call renting throwing money away, but interest is also money you'll never see again. Envelope 2 is property tax, a permanent monthly rent you pay to the government to stay put. And it doesn't stay still. It tends to creep up even if your mortgage rate never changes. Envelope 3 is maintenance, the unsexy stuff that turns weekends into repair shifts. A simple rule of thumb: maintenance can cost around 1-2% of the home value every year. It's not a single big disaster. It's a drip, drip, drip that quietly eats your margin. Envelope 4 is insurance. It's supposed to buy safety, but the premium can climb fast. So, the phrase, my payment is fixed, is only half true. The rest of the bill is alive. Envelope 5 is fees. When you buy and when you sell, the system takes a cut. Those transaction costs can be big enough to erase years of progress in one afternoon. Put it together and you realize something uncomfortable. You didn't eliminate rent, you just changed landlords. The bank is one landlord, the state is another, and the hardware store is the third. That's why two people can live in the same house, one renting, one owning, and both can be throwing money away. The question isn't, do I pay monthly? The question is, what am I paying for and what do I get back? Because when the unrecoverable cost of owning is close to rent, the rent is wasted argument collapses. And here's the trap: owners still feel richer because the money moved through a mortgage, not a lease. That feeling is powerful. But feelings don't pay for roofs, heaters, or taxes. So, if you've been thinking, I own, so I'm safe, I want you to replace that with I own, so I have responsibilities. Now we've defined the costs. Next, we need a simple metric that tells you when owning is mathematically overpriced. Grab that calculator again, because one division is about to save you years of stress. Let's move to the price to rent ratio, the PE ratio of housing. And once you know your ratio, you'll finally understand whether the house is a home or a cage with nice paint. Here's the strange truth: the housing market has a valuation multiple, just like stocks. Most people never check it. That multiple is the price to rent ratio, one division that tells you if you're overpaying for the same roof. If you can remember one thing from this video, remember this number. It cuts through every opinion. Step 1. Take the home price. Not what you wish it cost, what it actually costs today. Step 2. Take the rent for a similar place and annualize it. Monthly rent times 12. Now, divide. That's it. No fancy model. Just a reality check. When the result lands around 20, that's not a green light. That's a warning sign to look deeper. Historically, lower ratios tend to favor buying. High ratios tend to favor renting. So if your ratio is 25 or 30, the math is basically shouting, you're paying luxury pricing for basic housing. And here's why. Buying means financing a huge asset. Renting means paying for a housing service. You can live in a $1,000 asset and still feel broke because you don't own the asset. The bank does. With renting, someone else carries the surprise risk: the boiler, the roof, the foundation. With owning, you carry both the risk and the illiquidity. You're the insurer of your own life. Now, add the anchor effect. A home doesn't just cost money, it costs flexibility. Imagine you get a job offer in another city that pays X or more. A renter can move fast. An owner has to sell, pay fees, stage, wait, and hope the market cooperates. That delay has a price. Sometimes the exit fee eats the exact equity you thought you built. So, buying can be like betting your future on one neighborhood, one market, one timeline. If you're wrong, the penalty isn't emotional, it's financial. That's why optionality matters. The ability to move is a financial asset. So, here's the first decision filter. If you need flexibility, a high ratio is a red flag. But we're not done. The ratio is the market signal. Now we look at the hidden wealth killer, the down payment. Because the most expensive part of buying isn't always the monthly payment. It's the cash you bury in a wall. Once it's in there, it's not gone. But it's not free either. It's trapped. And trapped money can't protect you, can't pivot you, and can't buy you time when life hits. This is the moment the beautiful cage becomes visible. And the math gets even clearer. So, if your ratio is high, your costs are unrecoverable and your cash is locked. Ask yourself, is this a home or a handcuff? Next, we'll put a real price tag on that locked cash, so you can compare it to the alternative. Because the smartest housing move isn't the one that looks grown up, it's the one that keeps your options alive. Let's talk about the down payment, the part nobody feels month to month, but that quietly decides your future. That cash isn't spent, but it's not available either. It's trapped in a wall, illiquid, and hard to use. Picture yourself sliding a stack of bills into a safe you can't open without paying a fee and waiting weeks. The danger is opportunity cost. Money locked in a wall can't compound somewhere else. Even if your home price rises, you're making a concentrated bet on one location, one market, one timeline. Meanwhile, that same cash could be liquid, ready for emergencies, job moves, or investing on your schedule. This is why house rich, cash poor feels like success on paper and panic in real life. So, here's the alternative strategy: rent the housing service and invest the difference. The key word is discipline. Renting doesn't make you wealthy. Investing the gap does. Think of it like this: you're paying rent either way. The question is whether you also get liquidity. Liquidity is not a luxury. It's what turns a surprise bill into an inconvenience instead of a crisis. Same broken appliance. Two different lives. One calls it a disaster, the other calls it Tuesday. And liquidity buys something homeowners underestimate: time. Less maintenance stress, fewer emergency weekends. Home ownership can turn into a part-time job you never applied for. Renting can outsource that burden. If something breaks, you submit a request and keep living your life. That's why mortgage is fixed is a misleading comfort. The true housing bill still breathes. Buying is a lifestyle choice with a financial wrapper, not a guaranteed investment, because a home becomes a cage when your entire life depends on never losing one paycheck. The escape hatch is margin, lower fixed costs, higher liquidity, and an investment habit that runs automatically. That's the real flex. Not a bigger house, but a smaller trap. In the next chapter, we'll turn this into 3 simple rules you can apply in one afternoon. Because your goal isn't to win an argument. Your goal is to stop buying cages. And once you stop buying cages, every other money decision gets easier. Because housing isn't just a line item. It's the machine that sets the speed of your whole life. Let's lock the lesson in. You don't buy a home with your money. You buy it with your options. So, choose the option that keeps the most doors open. Here are 3 rules that turn housing from a cultural script into a decision you can actually control. Rule 1, calculate unrecoverable costs, the money you pay that will never build equity or freedom. If your owner costs are close to rent, the question becomes psychological, not financial. Rule 2, check the price to rent ratio, one number that tells you when the market is overpriced. When the ratio is high, you're not buying a home. You're financing an expensive asset to consume shelter. Rule 3, value mobility. Optionality is an asset, and homes can short your mobility. Everything else, everyone is buying, rent is wasted, this is adulthood, is noise. A house can be a wonderful home, but it's a terrible primary investment for most people. Wealth is owning income-producing assets. Shelter is a service you consume. Don't confuse the two. If you're renting right now, you're not failing. You might be buying time, mobility, and optionality. Because the real enemy isn't renting. It's buying a cage because you felt ashamed. Because freedom isn't a deed. Freedom is margin. And margin is what lets you say yes to better jobs, no to bad loans, and calm to surprise bills. If this video helped you, hit like and share it with someone who's buying under pressure. Because the fastest way to get trapped is to copy someone else's timeline with your own money.